After a long wait, Game Week 4 is finally here, and the list of transfer options continues to grow. No matter what moves you're thinking about, we've got you covered with buy, sell, keep, avoid. If you're new to Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, this video is split into two parts. The first of which we're going to be looking at those players you may already have in your team and which ones you should keep and which ones you should sell. We'll then be looking at some replacements. Which players should you buy and which players maybe you should avoid. Players will be tier listed with the best players at the top and the worst players at the bottom. So let's get stuck in with some forwards today, guys. And yeah, I think there's a few forwards here that I definitely think are worth keeping. Certainly Haaland, if you have him in your team, potential captain option. Yes, I know, surprise. But some people are selling Haaland. Ekitike would definitely be looking to keep him ahead of Game Week 4. I spoke about him a little bit on my video yesterday, but the prognosis is that Alexander Isak is not going to be starting anytime soon. He is nowhere near fit enough, nowhere near ready enough. So actually, if you do have Ekitike in your team, he's going to be really good for the next couple of game weeks against Burnley and Everton. Really, really like this pick. I know some people may be disappointed in Gyökeres against Liverpool, but if you have brought him in, you probably got him for the long term. Forest up next at home, not too bad, but from Game Week 7, the Arsenal fixtures look amazing and everyone is going to want to try and get Gyökeres in their team. So I definitely think if you have Gyökeres, the penalty taking striker from Arsenal in your team, there's no way I'd be selling. I think he's good value for money at 9 million for the team he plays for the penalties, and yeah, for some of those fixtures coming up, no way I would sell. Now I'm going to put Watkins very high on the monitor, very close to the keep section here, because I do genuinely think that Watkins is a player you should strongly consider keeping in Game Week 4. But I understand that not everyone is going to have the, I don't know, the diamond hands to be able to keep Watkins, because ultimately he is now blanked 3 games in 3. But the underlying numbers look actually not too bad. They look quite promising. He's taken 8 shots. That's 3rd best in the Premier League so far this season. All of those shots have been in the box. And he's generated 1.13 XG, which does suggest he has been unfortunate not to score so far this season. The chances are there. He just needs to finish one of them off. Also, the fixtures, they do look really nice for Watkins coming up. We've got Everton, who have been putting up some really poor defensive numbers. We've got Sunderland and Burnley all in the next 4. So generally speaking, if you feel you can have a bit of patience with Watkins, I definitely think he is a player that, whilst a lot of people are selling, keeping him could actually do you a lot of good as well. However, I understand not everyone has the same patience as others. So if you do feel you need to sell him, I get it. I totally get it. I would be looking to keep him personally. I think there are probably going to be bigger issues in your squad right now, judging by injuries and stuff like that. But Chris Wood is also going to go on the monitor section. If you are going to sell him, I think Game Week 4 is the time to do it. If you keep him for Game Week 4, you're pretty much committed to owning him until Game Week 7 because of Game Week 5 and Game Week 6. I think if you are on a free hit in Game Week 5 or 6, that would definitely encourage me to sell Watkins now. Oh, sell Wood now, sorry. But it's a very low priority sale. If you can bench Wood for this game week, I think that's probably the play, to be totally honest. Richarlison is going to drop slightly down a little bit further. I think he is worth monitoring right now because of the new signing of Kolo Muani. That is going to impact Richarlison's game potential. We know Solanke is still there as well as a potential player that could come in at some point or another. So this is worrying for Richarlison going forward, but you might be able to survive with him for Game Week 4. So I think might be your last opportunity with Richarlison. After that, he's going to be a very dangerous pick. We got Bowen edging towards the sell category. The fixtures are not looking too good. Did score last game week, but the underlying numbers perhaps not quite there for us. And, obviously West Ham have been mixed results so far this season. We've seen Bowen playing a little bit wider as well, despite being listed as a forward, which is not ideal. Strand Larsen is going to go into the sell category. There are fears that his injury is much worse than initially suspected. We'll keep an eye on that one throughout the rest of the week, but we've got Newcastle and Spurs coming up. I think those away fixtures are quite tough for Wolves, and Wolves have not looked too promising so far this season. So if there's a Strand Larsen injury there, that it is longer term than initially feared, yeah, maybe it's time to just maybe cut the cord here and just let Strand Larsen go. Sesko has been very disappointing so far. Difficult next two fixtures. I think he is a player to remove at 7.4 million. There's a lot of better options around that price in the forward position. And Mark Gue returning to Chelsea, dropping to 4.4 million. He has been a bit of a disaster pick in FPL. Who saw that one coming? But hey, I guess if you do have Mark Gue in your team, like me, he's definitely a player worth considering selling, particularly if you can make a nice upgrade to some of the forwards we're going to talk about later in the video. Looking at those midfielders you might already have, first of all, Liverpool midfielders, there is no way you sell them ahead of this Burnley game. Liverpool, in fairness to them, whilst maybe Salah and Wirtz haven't looked amazing, Salah does have 2 attacking returns already. Wirtz maybe not so much, but I think Wirtz did look very dangerous against Arsenal. Is actually putting up better underlying numbers than Salah. There have been some difficult games recently for Liverpool. I think people underrate how difficult Bournemouth, Newcastle and Arsenal were as a trio of games. These are really tough. These are 3 of the toughest games so far this season, really. These are some of the top defenses of this season so far. So we're going to the opposite end of the spectrum now. Burnley have been one of the weakest, if not the weakest, defense in the Premier League. So I think it does make sense to keep your Liverpool attackers, all of them, no matter who you have, against Burnley, even if you have found them a little disappointing. And Salah, I think, you know, he is Salah. He does Salah things. He gets points. He scams points. He manages to find a way. He's going to be a captain option for you guys. Bruno Fernandes, a penalty goal in game week 3. I think he is worth keeping against Man City and Chelsea because he's going to get those key passes. He's going to take shots. He's going to have set pieces. He's going to have penalties. And he's going to get defensive contribution points as well. 39 defensive contributions so far this season for Bruno, by the way. That is crazy, crazy numbers. So he's been really, really impressive in that regard. I think the problem with Bruno is that he's just such a low priority transfer out and maybe a bit of a cash cow player. I think you can keep him for now and maybe look to sell him if you are at a point where you need to make an upgrade maybe elsewhere in your team. But for now, I think he's worth keeping, really. I don't think there's too much point in selling him. He's doing absolutely fine for what he's worth. Decent underlying numbers, ticking a lot of boxes. Maybe just a little bit more expensive than perhaps he is worth. But that's something that can be dealt with later when we need the cash. Because right now, I feel like we don't really need the money too much. A lot of people building very good, very cheap squads. So particularly in midfield. Kudus one to monitor. I think he's still a very, very strong pick. And West Ham is a great fixture up next. We've got Wolves at home in game week 6 as well, which I really like. The difficulty with Kudus is that he's been quite disappointing since game week 1. And what we haven't seen from him so far is any kind of attacking potential from the goal scoring perspective. He's not looked like scoring once really so far this season. And I'd like to see that change. So let's monitor him for now, see what happens next. We've got Palmer in here. Maybe some concerns about his injury status. If you did hold on to him in game week 3, it might be worth just keeping him at this point. To be honest, if he is going to be back soon, we'll keep an eye on that throughout the rest of the week, but one to monitor if you do still have him in your team. Reinders is going to drift slightly lower along the monitor section. He has been playing a little more poorly, I guess, in the last couple of games. Fixtures, Man United, Arsenal, not great in the next 2. And with Rodri now back, there is maybe some concerns that some rotation may come in at some point or another, particularly with Champions League football very soon for Man City. So I'm not saying it's going to happen immediately. I'm just saying it's maybe something to monitor, something to keep an eye on. But at 5.7 million, you have to manage your expectations with Reinders. He's a fine pick for his price, but just maybe a player worth keeping an eye on over the coming game weeks. And finally, Rodgers. Now, unlike Watkins, Rodgers has been putting up really poor numbers. He just hasn't even really looked good in the games he's been playing. So despite the good fixtures, I do have some concerns about Rodgers. I do worry a little bit about him. And, you know, maybe he is going to be a player that is worth selling. That said, you look at the fixtures, you think maybe things can improve for him. It's difficult. I don't blame anyone selling Rodgers right now, but I don't think he's a must-sell player. And we are going to have to cop out really on the sells in the midfield category because all of them are kind of injured players, really. Honestly, in the midfield position, out of the popular players, I'd only really be looking to sell the injured guys because in terms of new options in for midfield, there are plenty of options, but no one that really stands out like a huge amount more than, you know, if you were to sell Rodgers, for example. I think you can improve your team by selling Rodgers, but are you improving it by that much? Probably not. But if you're selling an injured player, then you are objectively improving your team. And that's why I'm kind of copping out a little bit here, because I think a lot of the midfielders generally are worth holding on to, even if their performances haven't been quite up to scratch. So Cunha, the injury status is more positive than initially feared, but it may be worth letting him go at 8.1 million. It's just difficult with Man United right now. They're just a very difficult team to invest in, particularly after that great fixture against Burnley is out of the way. We've got Ismail Assar, who is going to be out for a sustained period of time. We could be looking at 3 game weeks kind of minimum for him, really. So we're going to see him out for Sunderland. We're going to see him out for West Ham. Maybe you get him for Liverpool, but probably going to be out a little bit longer than that as well. Well, it remains to be seen. I'm sure we'll get more information soon, but what we do know is that he is out at least for the next couple of game weeks. So worth selling immediately. And Cherki is going to be out for even longer than that. He's going to be out for months, unfortunately, for him, or at least a month. So, yeah, definitely another player worth selling immediately if you do have him in your team. So, yeah, cop-out answers here, guys, with the sells. That is just genuinely my beliefs, and I don't want to put anything out in this video that I don't truly believe, I suppose. As for defenders, I would be looking to keep Ait-Nouri now that he is confirmed back available. We saw him play in Game Week 3, of course. Next 2 fixtures, maybe not ideal, but from Game Week 6, looking really, really nice there for him. And I think he's good for minutes. I think he is good for minutes right now and maybe going into the future. Until we see Gvardiol back for a sustained period of time, I can't really see Gvardiol taking up too many minutes in the left-back position. I think Gvardiol's a centre-back, really, anyway, to be totally honest. But yeah, Ait-Nouri, a bit of attacking potential there. You can see with some of his attacking numbers. Done well for defensive contributions, certainly in Game Week 1 as well. Maybe we can see a bit more of that against the likes of Man United and Arsenal in these slightly tougher fixtures. Those Spurs defenders, well worth keeping. No concerns about them despite their 1-0 loss to Bournemouth. I think I've been pleasantly surprised by some Bournemouth defensive... Pedro Porro against Bournemouth defensive contributions there as well. Quite impressed by that. Just want to see more attacking potential, and we haven't really seen it as much as maybe we thought from Pedro Porro, so maybe that's going to change going into the future. Maybe one to keep an eye on, but certainly for this West Ham game, the Brighton game, the Wolves game in Game Week 6, these guys are worth keeping. Murillo one to monitor. Really strange one, really, and I understand if people do want to sell ahead of Arsenal. Again, particularly if you are free hitting in Game Week 5 or 6, and you're going to have that Forest defense covered in your free hit team regardless. But yeah, just completely different to what we expected. Last season, Forest were a super strong defense, really solid, quite negative team, really, making loads of defensive contributions. But really, it seems like they're in a bit of an identity crisis. Now, against Arsenal, I do expect them to revert to a very defensive style of play. And I would imagine that even though Murillo has been, so many defensive contributions last season, basically none in the new season, against Arsenal, I would be very surprised if he didn't get DEFCON points. I really would be very surprised. So it's kind of up to you. Do you want to hold him for Arsenal? Can you bench him for Arsenal? Do you want him for Burnley, Sunderland? Lots of moving parts here. For 5.5 million, he just has not provided value for money so far this season. So one to monitor, but I don't think he is an immediate sell. Konsa, not really a pick I'm particularly keen on because he is so poor for defensive contributions. Just 8 so far in 2 games. That is really, really weak. But the fixtures look pretty good for him. So he is playable in all of the next 4 fixtures. And I think as such, you can definitely consider keeping Konsa in your team if you can't find any better options there. He's a super low priority sell, but maybe not a great long-term pick. Stev, maybe you could think about replacing him if you do want to kind of maybe upgrade some of your defenders. I'm thinking about switching formation in my team, going for a 4 at the back formation. And if so, might actually end up upgrading Esteve. So situational, some of you guys are going to want to upgrade like that 4 million defender in your team, particularly as Burnley have not been impressive defensively. We've not maybe seen as many defensive contributions from Esteve as maybe we hoped as well. Frimpong wants a monitor. Don't think he's going to be back for Game Week 4, but Game Week 5 is certainly a possibility there. So if you still have Frimpong in your team, you want to hold the faith in him, fair enough. But yeah, he is certainly edging towards the sell category, even if he is available for Game Week 4, because we've got Szoboszlai playing super well at right back. Connor Bradley is now available at right back as well. I think Frimpong is a really, a worrying FPL asset to own going forward. So yeah, we'll see how this one goes, but Yeah, definitely want to consider selling. I think I would sell Dorgu now that we know he is going to be rotation risk, and with the terrible fixtures in the next two against two of the top attacks in the league, Man City and Chelsea. Is he a player you can hold on your bench for a couple of game weeks and maybe play him very sparingly? I mean, game week 7 against Sunderland looks okay to play him there, but if you never know when he's going to get rotated, maybe he is rotated in some of the easier games, then yeah, that's just really worrying to me. And as such, I think I would maybe just sell Dorgu. Wan-Bissaka also a rotation risk now, having missed out on last game. Going onto the bench there. So no attacking threat for Wan-Bissaka. The West Ham defense is pretty weak generally, and also really poor for defensive contributions. Just 8 so far in 2 games. So the same as Konsa there. So really disappointing for Wan-Bissaka. I think Juve at West Ham is a little bit better, but both of these players are maybe on the chopping block, but certainly Wan-Bissaka is looking like a player to sell. And Saliba confirmed he is going to be out for many weeks now. He's going to be out for the next 3-4 game weeks, maybe even more. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, confirmed Saliba is going to be out for some time. So he is going to be a sell for us now. And by the way, guys, if you are enjoying this video or finding it helpful, do drop a like. Massively appreciated. Feel free to subscribe if you want to check out this video every single game week. It's what we do here. Let's check out some buys. I think Joao Pedro is a super obvious buy right now. I think we all know that Joao Pedro is a really nice FPL asset, particularly with Palmer injury maybe helps him a little bit. The Delap injury helps him enormously in the slightly longer term, maybe more medium term, because Joao Pedro is just going to be playing every single game now and hopefully continuing to bang them in. Chelsea look like the best attack in the league so far. Maybe there's some arguments for Man City and Liverpool, particularly Liverpool, but yeah, Chelsea looking really good, and Joao Pedro is at the heart of all of it. He looks like their best player in attack. So yeah, no doubt he is going to continue to be a really nice player to pick up and buy if you don't have him already. Mateta is more of a fixtures play. He is on penalties for Crystal Palace, which is quite nice. Sunderland and West Ham in the next 2, which is a really nice pair of fixtures there. Even Everton in game week 7. I do quite like that one as well. So Mateta, not really been performing too well so far this season with just 6 shots. A lot of his XG was from the penalty that he scored as well. But with good fixtures, I think that can hopefully improve. Maybe some risk around the creativity at Crystal Palace right now, but I'd be prepared to back him at 7.5 million. It's not such a bad price for him. And Haaland, we mentioned him earlier on in the video. If you are able to buy him, maybe you're on a wild card, maybe you've got a couple of spare transfers and you want to make some big changes, as long as you're not removing Salah, I think it's definitely okay to buy Haaland right now. Get in slightly early, get ready to, have him on captain, maybe even triple captain in game week 6. Like the pick a lot. He has been performing super well so far this season, as backed up by his insane underlying numbers, best in the Premier League so far. 14 shots, 13 in the box, 6 big chances, 3.88 XG. That is insane. It is so much higher than the entire rest of the league. Gyökeres one to monitor. I'm not sure if I would just instantly buy him at this game week, but I still think he is a player worth considering as a buy right now. Evan Nilsson, another player to consider buying, but that Newcastle game in game week 5 maybe putting me off just a little bit with the likes of Evan Nilsson. So yeah, maybe some concern there, but generally speaking, the fixtures are pretty good for Bournemouth, and Evan Nilsson's not done too bad so far. Maybe not quite hitting the XG numbers of Ollie Watkins, but yeah, no, at least he's converted so far this season. Beto, if you're looking for a cheap forward and you think Beto is going to continue to play, it is a risk. It is for sure a risk, but with a goal last game week, maybe that does help him out a little bit with the rankings of Everton forwards. And we've got Ekitike here, the final player in monitor. Love him for game week 4. I think he will also start in game week 5, to be totally honest. If you feel you can make enough good use of him in 2 game weeks that he is worth bringing in, then fine. But he is a player you will have to transfer out in the very near future if you do buy him in. So just be aware of that. If you are going for Ekitike, this is a super short-term punt. If that sounds like something you're interested in, fine. But he's not like he's not going to be anywhere near the buy section because of those reasons. Avoid Chris Wood. You're not going to buy him away against Arsenal. It's just a terrible moment to buy him, I suppose. Richarlison is also going to go in the avoid section with Kolo Muani sniffing around. Solanke, of course, at the club too as well. So it's going to be, there's going to be some rotation risk very soon for Richarlison. Don't think it will happen in Game Week 4, but very soon he is going to be an insta transfer out. And I'm not sure he has the same potential as Ekitike in the short term to be worth bringing in, or even worth considering bringing in, I suppose. And finally, yeah, here's the here's the kicker. Isak is obviously going to be an avoid. According to the Sweden manager, he is not ready at all to play competitive football right now. He has had maybe 2-3 training sessions in the entire summer. He is going to take some time to get to any kind of fitness, particularly as he is a player who has had fitness and injury problems throughout his career. He's not going to be thrown in at the deep end. There's no need to throw him in at the deep end for Liverpool because Ekitike has been very good so far. So really, Isak, yes, eventually he will be the main starting striker for Liverpool, and he will do amazingly when he is. But it's not going to happen instantly. So I think if we're looking for serious FPL tips here, guys, patience required on Alexander Isak. I know he's exciting. I know he's new. I know he's very, very shiny indeed. And if you're playing FPL for fun, hey, I'm not here to tell you guys what to do. But if you're looking for FPL points, I don't think Isak is going to be your guy. He's going to play, very minimal minutes, maybe 10 minutes in Game Week 4 if he's lucky. Maybe 15-20 minutes in Game Week 5 again if he's lucky. So yeah, it's gonna be a little while until Isak is properly ready to go. So he is gonna be an avoid for me. And anyone avoiding Isak, congratulations, guys, because there's a lot of people buying him, and you're going to have an advantage over all of these people in terms of FPL points if you do manage to resist him, I suppose. Midfielders, this is messy. There's a lot. So Semenyo, first of all, I think no change here. We speak about him every single game week as a buy. Still the same opinion here. Brighton, nice fixture. We've got Leeds coming up as well. I think Semenyo in general is a really, really nice pick indeed. So would certainly still be considering him. Volume shooter, plenty of XG. Close to scoring against Spurs, even though he blanked, so unlucky there as well. He could be, three returning games in 3. Very, very easily could have been the case. We've got Njai and Grealish also in the buy section, so I'm going to throw both of them in this section. I think both are good players to buy. My personal preference is Njai. That's why he's slightly higher on my tier list here as a buy, because Njai has the much better goal-scoring potential. Jack Grealish, not really a goal-scoring guy, never has been that guy, always been more of a creator. He's done very well creatively so far this season, but 4 assists with 1.29 expected assists is an overperformance. Njai, however, maybe slightly closer to his XG numbers to his actual output. So I do like the look of that. I think also with Njai on penalties and Grealish very much being the kind of player to win penalties, it's going to be a huge advantage to Njai to get some more penalties and convert some more penalties soon. But ultimately, in FPL, the players who score the goals often score more points than the guys who assist the goals, and therefore Njai is my slight preference. That said, I like them both. But if you push me for an answer, one or the other, at 0.2 million cheaper, Njai is my Ngai. Grealish is great too, though, guys. So please do not interpret this as me saying I don't like Grealish. They're both in the buy section for a very good reason. Lucas Paqueta, yeah, the hype is real on him. Debated putting him in the buy section, but I think that would be unfair on Grealish to bump him up any further. But yeah, look, not everyone's going to like Paqueta, but he's super cheap, 5.9 million, doing really well for defensive contributions so far this season. He's made 33 defensive contributions in 3 games. He's the penalty taker. He is one of the free kick takers for West Ham as well, which is very handy to have. I think in general, he has a little bit of open play shooting, a little bit of key passing, set pieces, DEFCON. Very, very cheap. He's ticking a lot of the boxes in terms of what we're looking for FPL assets this season, really. So therefore, I do like him as a pick, generally speaking. So I don't think he's overhyped. I think he works. He really, really does work. 5.9 million, guys, is super cheap. You're looking for a cheap midfielder, take some money out of the midfield. He's your guy. Straightforward, simple as that. Like the look of him. Dewsbury Hall is another player maybe worth considering as well at 5 million. So if you want to go even cheaper, Dewsbury Hall looks really good creatively, getting a lot of assist potential, 7 key passes, a lot of set pieces that he is taking as well, which is very, very nice indeed. So if you, again, want to go even cheaper than that, absolutely love Dewsbury Hall. Enzo, I think, is maybe a little bit overhyped for me. I don't think he's actually played as well as maybe the points have reflected. Him scoring a penalty in game week 3 has really, really kind of maybe boosted him a little bit. But if Palmer is going to be back, game week 4, game week 5, Enzo is no longer going to be on penalties, and therefore Enzo will become a worse FPL asset overnight almost. He has overperformed massively on his assists, and really without the penalty, his numbers look good, but you know, not like a must buy. So he's definitely a player to monitor. He's definitely a player to consider, particularly if you are not worried about overloading on your Chelsea slots in your team, because a lot of people pushing 3 Chelsea players. You know, if you've got Sanchez, Joao Pedro, and Mark Gue in your team right now, you've already got your 3 Chelsea players. Are you going to make 2 transfers just to bring in Enzo? Don't think it's worth it. So he's a difficult FPL asset in general, and I think maybe a little overhyped. So if you're going in the monitor, he could be okay though. I don't dislike him. He's not on a void. He's worth considering. He's worth monitoring. But yeah, that's about it for me. Cody Gakpo. Don't know what his minutes are going to look like going into the future. Same situation with Ekatike. Really nice short-term game week 4, game week 5, maybe. After that, we need more information on Gakpo. And so I wouldn't really strongly recommend buying him. But if you want to take a short-term punt, yeah, maybe worth considering. Into the avoid, Eza. Still don't know enough about him. Is he going to start against Forest? Where is he going to play? What's his role? Is he going to be on set pieces? We don't know yet. So maybe worth waiting until game week 7 before bringing Eza in. I'd like some more information. Then this comes from an Arsenal fan who absolutely loves Eza, is so excited about this signing. Just need more info, guys. And Burmo would not be looking to buy him ahead of the next 2 fixtures, despite the heroics of game week 3. And Ismail Assar, just in case you missed the keep sell section of the video, Ismail Assar is confirmed out for several 2-3 game weeks as a minimum for this upcoming run. So he is not going to be a player to buy anymore. He is going to be a player to strongly avoid. And if you do have him, sell him. Really disappointing, because I love him as an FPL asset. But unfortunately, he has got to go. No more Sar. Defenders quickly. Lacroix, Munoz. Love the look of both of these players. Good fixtures. Attacking potential for Munoz. Defensive contributions for Lacroix. Elite. Senesi. Also think he is great right now for 4.6 million. Another dominant player on defensive contributions. 42 so far. And Senesi historically has provided a decent amount of attacking threat as well. So we could even see a bit of that. Bournemouth, a far better defense than we expected them to be. So really like the look of going for a player like Senesi. If you're looking to go slightly cheaper. But if you want to spend a bit more money, Lacroix, cheat code, Munoz looks really strong as well. Monitor Virgil, I think maybe 6 million is a lot of money, and maybe you can find better value in the likes of Lacroix, Munoz, Senesi, but Virgil's still a player well worth considering. Super strong for defensive contributions as well, with 44 so far. We know about his attacking potential. Kukurea looks good right now as well, as does Chalobah. Chalobah, his minutes potential does seem to be improving, but there is always some concern around the Chelsea centre-backs when they might be rotated, if ever. And yeah, I don't think Chalobah is going to continue his goal and assist rate that he's got so far this season. 1 goal, 1 assist, maybe a little incidental. Don't know if that's going to massively continue, but, you know, the odd goal or assist here and there will be there, I'm sure. Livramento, maybe a player to consider, because the Wolves game looks good, but Bournemouth and Arsenal, maybe not so keen on them right away. So, yeah, 5.1 million, little expensive, maybe one to monitor, but not an insta-buy. I'm still worried about Calafiori and his and Timber as well for their rotation risk with the likes of Lewis Skelly, with the likes of Hincapié as well, potentially can play left back. Timber and White maybe less so in the right back position, but Calafiori, I'm worried about rotation. There is going to be a game very soon where Calafiori is on the bench. It is coming, guys, believe me. So maybe, again, wait for Man City, Newcastle out the way, and then kind of reassess what we think about there. Seems a little risky for me. Gabriel, yeah, there's just no defensive contribution potential there. So I think a lot of the cheaper defenders, even if you think Gabriel is going to get more clean sheets, I think with the fixtures, a lot of the other defenders are going to do almost as well for clean sheets, but then also get the defensive contributions, also get the bonus points, and are going to look a lot better. So, yeah, not keen on Arsenal defenders still to this point. And Mark Yu, no interest here. Yes, he scored in Game Week 3, but it's going to be Richards picking up the defensive contribution points. If you're looking for 4.5 million Crystal Palace defender, Richards is your guy, not Mark Yu. But I think I would definitely consider going even further, going for Lacroix, going for Munoz. And goalkeepers, very, very quickly, because, yeah, goalkeeper transfers, not something I typically recommend. But, yeah, if you are a Sanchez or Sells owner, would definitely keep both of them. The only goalkeepers I'd really be looking to sell would be those Man City goalkeepers now that Donnarumma has signed from the club. Ederson is gone. Trafford's time is very, very... It's limited. You know, he is going to be out of the starting 11 very, very soon. Maybe not this week, but soon. In terms of buying a new goalkeeper, Raya, for sure. If you're looking to go for cheaper, I would go for Petrovic at Bournemouth, but I would not be going for Becker, Alisson Becker. A little bit too expensive for the value he provides, in my opinion. And Henderson, I think if you're going for Crystal Palace defensive assets, you want to go for the defenders and not the goalkeeper. So much more value for money there in the Crystal Palace defense, I think. But if there's any players I missed out, didn't speak about today, let me know in the comments and we'll give them a rating, buy, sell, keep, or avoid. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you're new around here. We'll be back tomorrow for yet another video. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.